Hey guys, I'm back. This is Carrie Konyha in Sedona, Arizona, bringing you this week's astrology and tarot energy update. Today we're looking at the energies shining in for the full moon happening in the sign of Capricorn on July 13th at 11:37 a.m. Pacific time. So of course, as usual, make a time adjustment for your location in the world. So in case you haven't noticed, we've had some intensely transformative energies happening over the course of the past few weeks, ignited or activated with the most recent new moon we had a few weeks ago. And as we're progressing through this month, those transformative energies are only going to intensify. This has to do with the Uranus conjunction that's happening with the North Node, and then Mars coming into the mix at the end of the month. So I'm going to talk a lot about that in today's episode. But before I do that, I just want to share with you all real quick what's going on in my life and why I wasn't able to do last week's energy update. So a few weeks ago, we had a flood in the building that my healing center is in. And so I've been navigating with all of that. The flood was not in my suite. It was in a suite upstairs, but it did bring a lot of water damage into our suite and several of the neighboring suites in the building. And so it's been a few weeks of touch and go. When can we get back in? Blah, blah, blah. And now the result is that everybody in the building has to evacuate the building so that the water damage can be remediated. And so now, on top of my usual work with seeing clients, I'm also looking for a new location for my healing center. My deepest apologies for not making last week's energy update, but I do feel like the situation is under control now. I'm still looking for a new location for my healing center, but definitely feeling way more in alignment with my usual schedule. So I'm happy to be back with all of you guys. Let's go ahead and dive into looking at this week's energy. Welcome back, guys. I'm going to just dive right in here. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on astrologically, and then of course we're going to be doing a tarot reading as usual as well. I'm going to start by saying that this full moon is in the sign of Capricorn. Of course, the moon represents our inner emotional state of being. And so when the moon is in Capricorn, it does support a little bit of a pragmatic approach to our senses and feelings and our internal processes. However, the sun is still in Cancer. And the sun is our identity, our outward expression. When the sun is in Cancer, we naturally feel like a little bit more inspired towards nurturing energies. We feel a little bit more home-oriented, a little bit more in the direction of self-care, self-nurturing, tuning into our feelings. It's a lot about intuition as well. And so each month when we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are always opposing each other. We have the sun in a watery sign, and we have the moon in an earth sign. The blending of this is lending itself to being able to access a deeper sense of what our true feelings are about things going on in our life right now. But the moon in Capricorn also enables us to have more of a pragmatic approach to it. Now, this is further emphasized by the fact that Mercury, which is also in the sign of Cancer right now, is conjunct the sun. So it really is Mercury in the sign of Cancer that's enabling us to have deeper awarenesses around our deeper truths, our deeper states of being. And the moon is coming into a conjunction or alignment with Pluto, which is also in Capricorn. And Pluto is the sign of rebirth, transformation. We've got a big emphasis on transformation, rebirth, and renewal happening over the course of the rest of this month, which I'm going to talk more about. But here I want to just interject and say that when I look at the entire chart that's happening around this full moon, which I've got printed out here, this is my little chart that I look at each week for these, I'm noticing that we do have an earth element emphasis this week. So we have the moon and Pluto in Capricorn, and we have Mars, Uranus, and the North Node in Taurus, which is also an earth sign. So what does it mean when we have this dominance of earth energy around this full moon? It feels like working with physical movement and taking care of your physical body and your physical needs is a big component to the qualities of transformation that are happening now energetically. Physical movement is a really good way to process mental and emotional and even spiritual energies. So we have that going on in the mix. And I also feel that with the earth element dominance, the nature of the transformation that we're experiencing more than likely will be manifesting in like actual physical manifestation ways. Now, another thing that this can indicate, then this is something more to be aware of and really tend to your self-care in, is with this earth element dominance, we may have a tendency to physically feel unwell if things are coming up that are causing mental or emotional distress. This is definitely a week to really tend to your self-care. Now, let me go back to talking a little bit more about this Uranus North Node conjunction, that we're in the energy of that now, but later in the month, Mars is joining the mix. Now, this is a unique conjunction. It doesn't happen often, and it really is activating massive shifts and changes in our lives, collectively speaking. Now, I mentioned this a few weeks ago in the new moon episode that I did, and I talked about how the planet Uranus is an energy that is connected to awakening. It's connected to bringing in unexpected developments, unexpected change. It's also connected to cosmic mind, higher awareness. Ultimately, the change implementing nature of Uranus always is in the spirit of liberating and expanding. So we need to keep that in mind. Now, the North Node is connected to our higher destiny. The North Node of the moon in astrology represents what we truly feel compelled towards, what we truly feel called towards, what we seek to experience, develop, and even master in our lifetimes. So with Uranus aligning with the North Node, we really can expect that in some way, shape, or form, each of us collectively, all of us collectively, but in our own unique ways, is going to have some type of awakening that is connected to our personal sense of our highest timeline, our highest destiny. And when Mars comes into this alignment on July 31st, it gives even more of a push of passionate enthusiasms to really step into our deeper truths. And collectively, I would say that the themes, not only this week, but for the rest of this month and even into the first part of August, massive shifts that are connected to our true, deep personal truths, our true, deep feelings, and the astrology that's happening right now is supporting us all in having heightened awareness around these things. And so taking time through meditation, mindfulness practices that enable you to really feel into what is my deepest personal truth? How am I feeling compelled to step forward into a higher version of myself, higher version of my life, and allow that to be what guides you? Now, I also want to say before we get into the cards here, remember that Neptune is still retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Neptune in general has a collective influence on things having to do with our dreams, inspiration, imagination. And when it goes retrograde, it helps, especially in Pisces, it helps us to sort through things that maybe have been illusionary or fantasy and redirects us into a clearer vision, a truer dream. And that's the energy we're stepping into. Now, for the tarot reading today, I'm going to be doing a tarot reading that specifically is for the full moon. And we're going to look at the present energy, what needs to be seen or noticed, what needs to be released, what types of intentions we can be setting, and also what the result of those intentions will be. Okay, here we go. Let me start by just picking a few cards here. And here we go. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll do 6 altogether here, actually. So the first card we're going to be looking at here is representing the present energy collectively. And it is the World card. So when the World card shows up, this is the energy of unification, wholeness, totality, and completion. It can be seen as almost like an uplifting, honoring, celebrational energy that happens when we've experienced the achievement of a particular goal, for instance. But on a collective level, it feels like, as we're looking at the present energy, keeping in consideration that Uranus North Node Mars conjunction, I feel like this is bringing up an awareness around remembering the big picture and not getting sidetracked or discouraged by anything that might feel like a challenge to surmount along the way. And so this reminds me, I want to share with you that if you want to take a look at exactly how this Uranus North Node conjunction is going to activate your life, take a look at your natal chart and look to see where the 18 degree of Taurus is in your chart, because that's where the conjunction is happening, 18 degrees and 42 minutes. So you can look that up in your own natal chart, and then whatever house that is in will give you some insight as to the sector of your life that is being activated. If you have specific planets or asteroids in that area, then you want to take those into consideration as well, as far as, you know, an extra emphasis for you energetically. If there's a conjunction happening with a celestial body that you have in your natal chart, that this is transiting over. Next, we're taking a look at what needs to be seen, what needs to be noticed, what needs to be recognized or known. Now, we already know that based on the astrology that's happening, there's an emphasis on being a little bit more aware of what our deeper truths are and what our personal feelings are. But let's see what else wants to come through the cards here. Okay, so what needs to be seen is recognizing where we're being triggered into shadow thinking. This past few weeks has been like super triggery, right? Notice where you've been triggered into worry, fear, anxiety, maybe old wounds bubbling up to be healed. And so that is being depicted here in the Nine of Swords, which is the card of that. This is the card of being plagued by worries, fears, stresses, anxieties, worst case scenario thinking, that type of thing. And so this is what we need to recognize in the way where we can see it for what it is and break the spell of being in the slumber of that, so we can pop back into more of a soul-centered awareness, because ultimately being in that soul-centered awareness is what's going to enable us to really shift into that higher destiny energy. if we're being consumed and riddled by our worries, doubts, fears, woundedness, all of that is contrary to really being able to consciously move through the energy. Now, here on my channel, I like to connect with people who I call evolutionary souls, people who are here to support the evolution, the expansion of consciousness, the awakening of humanity, which of course starts with our own evolution, right? So in order for us to fully evolve with these energies that are supporting us, step one is disconnecting from the emotional or mental triggers that might be happening for you. And I think I talked about this in the last video, looking at things from the observer point of view. Are you lost in the midst of the triggers, or are you in that higher perspective of you that you can look to see where there's a part of you being triggered and work through it consciously, objectively, which actually is a part of what this full moon in Capricorn will help us do. And so now we're looking at what needs to be released. What needs to be released, I would say, with the 3 of Wands coming up, which is an energy that's connected to growth and expansion. I feel like what needs to be released is expectations and or attachments to how we think things should be going, and be willing to be guided by the divine. This is a really good time to affirm and strengthen your connection with higher guidance. That's what I'm personally doing in my life right now. I'm completely relying on higher guidance to guide me in the direction of whatever my next thing is meant to be for my healing center. In a time in Sedona where, just like everywhere else in the world, real estate is crazy, including commercial real estate. Nowhere to rent right now, but I'm trusting my higher guidance. I'm being patient. I'm being in the now. I'm not pushing or forcing in the energy of expectation or attachment. I'm also not being attached to releasing the old center. I was intending to expand anyway. So this is just the universe bumping me along that path a little bit sooner than expected. Okay, so next, let's take a look at what needs to be called in. What can we call in energetically to support us during this time? And the energy that's coming up is the King of Pentacles showing up reversed. So the kings in the tarot represent mastery of a particular energy. And the Pentacles is earth energy. It has to do with our physical environment, our physical bodies, our physical health, our sustenance, our security, our foundations. And in the reverse position, it feels like calling in the energy of groundedness, connection with the earth, doing practices that strengthen your sense of connection to the natural rhythms and cycles of the earth. Harness the power of earth energy for self-care and for whatever your manifestation goals are right now. I really feel it's about not so much looking externally, but looking internally, because it's reversed, and literally connecting with the rhythm, the energy, the heartbeat, the pulse of the earth. It's summertime. Go outside and lay on the grass and really attune to the pulse of life. Grounding, centering, attuning to nature, and asking for higher guidance at the same time around what's opening up for you, what wants to manifest, without pushing or forcing or getting caught up in expectations, just attuning and following the guidance. And then what kind of intentions can we set? The Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles revitalizes. It's earth energy. It activates a surge of earth energy that supports our intentions, especially intentions that are connected to our physical environment, our physical well-being, our physical bodies, our physical health, how it is that we are exchanging energy in life. It's energy flow and exchange. It can literally be financial endeavors as well. So the intention is here, I feel, to have a balance between what you're receiving and what you're sharing. Now that's the circular energy of what I'm receiving and what I'm sending is also an energy that's very conducive to being in a manifestation flow. I've talked about this on my channel also, about how manifestation is not so much a practice as much as it is a state of being. And so really tapping into those earth energies, being connected with the earth, being in tune with the earth, as you're also being open to higher guidance. And so setting your intentions around just being a channel for the energies that are moving through right now without expectation, but with a clear sense of vision, objective, goal, or dream that you're working towards, but leaving it open to however it wants to manifest in the highest and best ways, because we have that energy of shifting into our highest destinies now. One last card we're going to look at today is what's the magic that's coming in with all of this? It's the King of Cups reversed. And when I see this card reversed, it's an energy of emotional healing, perhaps especially in regard to the sacred masculine, because this represents masculine energy. It's cups, so it's connected to emotions, our sensing feeling body, intuition, and things like that. So the magic is that through all of this triggeredness and intensely transformative energies that we've got going on right now, the magical result is that we can all experience deeper healing regarding some of our old unhealed wounds, traumas. I feel like self-communication is the key because of the blue that's showing up in the card here. In the tarot, even the colors have to do with the messages as well. And you can see there's a lot of light blues in this card, even the water in the background here. And this is really connected to the Sun and Mercury, both being in Cancer right now and supporting us in accessing our deeper truths around our feelings. If we work with the energy consciously, we're going to be able to move through it with the most grace. Maybe not necessarily the most ease, but the most grace and dignity and self-respect and self-love. I'm going to be chiming in later this week with a new episode connected to my Empowering Intuition series. But in the meantime, I want to remind us all that really our intuition is our biggest and best navigation tool, really always in life. But when it comes to transitional times like this, it's even more important and useful to consciously be tapped into your intuition. So I encourage you to take a look at my Empowering Intuition playlist. I'll post it up here and down in the comments below. And so I'll see you over in that playlist, and I will also see you in the next video later on this week. Love you guys, blessings, take care, and namaste.